and good evening, one and all, and welcome back to the Blue Rose Respite for my Q&A stream and giveaway, celebrating 20,000 subscribers on YouTube and 900 followers on Twitch. Thank you so much for joining me this evening, and a massive thank you to the wonderful, as always, Scarlet Novella for your 16-month resub. Thank you so much for your amazing support, sweetie. I love you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. But how's it going, everyone? I hope you've all been doing well. Just want to check, can you hear me okay? Is the music too loud? Just wanted something nice and chill in the background. I've missed this background as well. It's been a while since we've done a Q&A stream, and it's so pretty. It's so pretty and I love it. Okay, sound is all good. It's not too loud at all. That's good to hear. Okay, in that case, I might turn it up just a little bit. Okay, should be able to hear it now. Just want to make sure that there's a nice balance. It's a little tricky to gauge sometimes between my voice coming through nice and clear and all that good stuff. Okay, let us just up that music just a little bit more, and let me just fix something. So I noticed a little bit of a spike when I got a bit loud. Okay, so that should be a bit of a better balance for everything. Sorry about that. But thank you all so much for joining me this evening. I just want to make sure that everything is going smoothly. And let us see who is in the chat this evening. Jen, how's it going? Welcome back. The Storyteller Bree, Scarlet, as always. Hayden, how's it going, man? Talon, wonderful to see you. The Metloid Man, Regem, Samwell, Ewan, Lewin, Sanchelu, Brian. Man behind the screen, how's it going? Chef Alpharius, how's it going? Welcome back, it's been a while. Glad you can make it tonight, but I hope all of you are doing well. We're all just here to relax and unwind, and for you to ask me some questions. But before we get started, I'm just going to go through the schedule. So first and foremost, I'll be doing my thanks for all of my amazing patrons and subs. Let me just grab that 1 second. But I hope all of you have been doing well. I hope this has been a good week for you. It's been an awesome day so far. I took the day off work and I've just been enjoying it. Doing some nice cooking, some nice homewares arrived, and so it's all good. But I want to first and foremost, before we get too far along tonight, so what I'll do first is I'll probably thank my current patrons and Twitch subs. I'll also go into details then about the giveaway, and then I'll answer the questions that I received from my Twitch subs and patrons on my Discord. And then we'll start getting into the questions over on the general chat, if that sounds good with you guys. And Daniel, thank you so much for the host. And Daniel, you're not late at all. We were just getting started. So yes, after answering the questions from my Discord from my patrons and Twitch subs, then I'll be going into general questions on the chat. Meanwhile, in the background, the giveaway will be running as we go, and then towards the end of the evening, we'll be announcing our winner, and then we'll be wrapping things up. So overall, I'm thinking it's probably going to be about 2 hours or so. So just to give you guys a rough time frame, but I'm so glad you're all able to join me tonight. So, first and foremost, I have to thank my amazing patrons over on Patreon. To my Cherubim of the Archive, Hayden Parke, Russian Oligarch Billionaire, Scott McGlumphy, and Fang, thank you so much for your amazing continued support. And to my Archangels of the Forest, Adam, Alan Smith, Blackbird 12, brianwix, Charles Ceates, Chef Alpharius, David Bliss, DarianG, Gundameister 14, Ghonnathan Bagwell, G2042, Ivy Awkerman, Leo, Lucky Lopez, Martin, Michael Conroy, Riker Gold, Steve Duffy, the man behind the screen, Turtle Swag, Unholyreaper, Valerie, and Zach R. Thank you so much for your amazing continued support as my Archangels of the Forest. And a big thank you to my Angels of Generosity, to CasaHouse, Derek Casagrande, Doug Connor, Douglas, Efrem Varnado, Gentleman Velociraptor, Jin Cherubim, G. Jeffries, Harry Smith, Sezunia Harrington, and Zethronok. Thank you so much, guys, for your amazing generosity and continued support. Thank you guys so much. And so on to my list of current Twitch subscribers, because seriously, without you guys' continued renewed support, I have no idea where I'd be and how I'd be able to keep this going, so thank you so much. But going from the top, a big thank you to Valtharis, Xenonox, Hewen, the Storyteller Bree, Seafox 668, The Wolf Warrior, Scarlet Novella, Dragon King 4499, Technomage Grimm, Deadpool 72897, Mr. Creepypasta, Baron Alistair, Zanshlu Carmina, Cabin in the Redwood, KMS Kylie Ann, Little Devil 863, Xenook, CasaHouse, Blue Bear 87, Mr. Bubbles 023, Angrus Angel, Regem 101, The Lovely Man 23, The Metloid Man, Tempest Ultra, Lionheart X Jr., Ralak 01, Jaffa Jedi, DOP 63624, Praise the Luna, Duke Silver, Mr. Shadowy Whispers, Exodus 344, Jen Newsom 8, Purge the Xenos, Desoxy Ribose, apologies if I got that incorrect, Vanlock, Caveman in Cave, Writers Cove Studios, The Thing Named Tiana, Zonti 97, Vartimon, T-Mac Tanner, Ray Jones Dude, I'm a Wirewolf, 83 Americ, Kimikun, Box Puppy, Skatulator, Comstein Druff, Sam Texa, Squall the Ghost, Gundam Meister 14, and Hayden Parke 1138. Thank you all so much. Some of you are supporting me across multiple platforms, and just thank you. Thank you so much for just being there for me through all these years and seeing how far I've come. Thanks to your guys' support, being able to cover costs such as my new PC, new graphics I'm commissioning, new tech upgrades. Thanks to your guys' generosity, I wouldn't be able to cover half of these costs, so thank you all so much. Literally, I would not have come this far without you, so thank you so much. You're amazing. And thank you for the stretch check, Daniel. Always good to get one of those in early before we get settled in and started. Oof. But before we get into answering questions, we have our giveaway. So, for those of you who don't know, usually I like to do a giveaway of a Steam key that ties in one way or another with stuff that I'm passionate about or interested in whenever we do one of these Q&As for a big milestone. So this time, I will be giving away a Steam key for... what? Mr. Bubbles 023, thank you so much for the 5 gifted community subs. Thank you so much for helping my archive to grow and strengthen. Thank you so much for your amazing continued support. Seriously, dude, you just go above and beyond. Thank you so much. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Guys, thank you. But I tested this out earlier, so it should be working properly for the giveaway. So, for this giveaway, for celebrating 20k subs and also for 900 followers on Twitch, I will be giving away a Steam key for Resident Evil Village. It will just be the one. But everyone who is a follower, you have to be a follower in order to enter, and you have to be active in the chat and put in the command when it's prompted, will be in the draw to win. And just a heads up, anyone who is a Twitch subscriber will be given an additional 5 bonus tickets. And so best of luck, guys. We will be starting things out. I'm just going to check that everything is working. Then if not, we'll figure something out, because that has happened in the past. Okay, so the giveaway will be running for about 1 hour and 45 minutes, and so that'll give us time to collect all of the entries, and then towards the end we will draw a winner. So here we go. And there we go, we've got things going. So we have 1 hour and 45 minutes will be the length of the time that the raffle will be running. So if you want to enter, use the command !giveaway in order to enter, and then I'm just gonna check. Oh yes, good. So yes, if you want to enter, it's !giveaway. You'll only be able to give and enter one time if you are a Twitch subscriber. As you can see from the prompts in the chat, your additional tickets will already be added on top of there. So just the command the one time. I think if you spam it or put in additional commands, it times it out. But yes, don't you worry. Once you've submitted giveaway, I can see it on my screen here. You're in the running to win. So thank you so much, guys. I cannot wait to see who is the lucky winner. Just gonna take another sip of my drink. Oh, this is part of the homewares that I had delivered today. Just some nice new glassware. Nothing super fancy, just some nice classic kind of soft drink glasses. But they're nice, good, substantial glasses for holding good cocktails. Okay, I'm very excited to see who's going to win. But let us get into tonight's questions. So, we'll be starting out with the questions that you guys posted on the Discord. And the Discord is inhabited by my very generous patrons and Twitch subs. So, we'll be going just from top to bottom, first to most recent question. And starting off from Zenook. Do you like Necrons? I do appreciate a good Necron. I'm not as entangled or entwined with the Warhammer community as I once was, just since I stopped making Warhammer narrations. But as someone who is a big fan of Egyptian culture and their mythology and aesthetics, it's fucking cool. Necrons are fucking awesome. While I don't have any plans of owning or having a Warhammer army anytime soon, I can appreciate a well-constructed Necron. So yes, I hope that answers your question, Zenook. Okay, our next question comes from the man behind the screen. What process, if any, do you usually go through when preparing and writing your long-form stories? So, the man behind the screen, pretty much what I like to do when I'm doing my long-form ASMR tales, where I know it's going to be multiple chapters, this is something that I picked up from when I was writing fan fiction, just as a way to kind of help keep structure, and so then I would be less inclined to stop the fanfic because I would run out of ideas. What I would essentially do, ooh, thank you, Scarlett. I will check in just a second, because you're also Scarlett, you bitch. Okay, I will answer that question though, because that is a legit question and I will answer it. But back to your question, the man behind the screen. Yes, going back to when I used to write fan fiction, what I would do is I would break down chapter by chapter, or I would essentially have like cool ideas for scenes, or like, oh, this is a good line, but I don't know where to put it. So I would have like brackets of dot points, and I would have like chapter X, because I didn't know how many chapters it was going to be. So I would have like chapter X and then this line, or oh, this sequence could be cool. And so then that's just kind of how I help my brain to keep things catalogued and organized. And then when I would sit down to write, and then maybe I would have a bit of writer's block and I wouldn't be motivated to write, or I wouldn't be able to articulate my thoughts in quite the right way for maybe a few weeks, maybe even a month or so. And then I'd be able to like look over at what my notes were and be like, okay, that was what I was going to write next, and I can quickly go back to it. So essentially that's what I usually go through when it comes to plotting out a long form ASMR tale, is for my own sense of like security, because then I know I am telling a complete story from start to finish. I will plot out the entire story chapter by chapter, not in meticulous detail. Sometimes it would just be like, okay, this story feels like maybe it would be between 5 to 8 chapters, and so then I'll be like, okay, chapters and then under each of those chapter subheadings I would put like dot points of like, okay, plot point this, or you know, this is going to happen this, and then I can kind of see the pacing and have an idea of where things are going to be progressing and also how things are going to finish, because I think I can speak for everyone in chat. If I ever did an ASMR tale and I just left it hanging, like if I had no conclusion to it whatsoever, you know, that's not a very satisfying story, is it? So I always try to do that so that even if I'm maybe not in the best headspace to write and I put it aside for a week or so, then I can come back later and I can see my full list of dot points of like, this is the sequence of events that I've already plotted out, and then I'm kind of like, thank you, past Steph. So that then I can get the ball rolling again, which is very much something I'm actually going through at the moment with my priest ASMR tale, Behind Heaven's Veil, because I was putting out the chapters that had already been completed that was previously Patreon exclusive, before I stopped doing that. So now I'm getting back into writing new chapters, but the thing is, I haven't actually written a new chapter of that for well over a year now. But I go back into the Google Doc, and then I see there is the full list of all of the plot beats that I've previously planned out. So even though I need to fill in the blanks and actually, you know, write the thing with dialogue and like scene building and all that, and like sound effects prompts, which is something I like to do for ASMR tales because it makes it easier in editing. Even if I haven't like looked at that script for a really long time, I can still see like all of the dot points of how things were going to be paced. And then sometimes you're like, oh, maybe some time has passed, and you're like, actually that plot point doesn't really work so well anymore, I'm going to change it to this one. So that's personally what I like to do, is that is the biggest thing that I do in terms of prep before sitting down to write it, is even before I announce anything or saying like, this is the new thing I'm going to be working on, I like having the assurance of knowing that I've got everything planned out, so that then I know the story has a beginning, a middle, and a conclusion. And things might change along the way, but I have a solid idea of how things are going to progress. It's just something that I prefer as a writer because I know what direction I'm heading in, and it also gives a sense of security knowing that I have a set ending point in mind. So it's nothing super fancy. It's just a series of dot points, breaking it down chapter by chapter, so that then I can quickly refer back to it. Just because I sometimes tend to be a little bit scatterbrained when it comes to these sorts of things, or I'll start working on a script and I'll put like a couple of hours into it, and then I'll be like, okay, actually I've got to edit this other project. So I'll go and I'll do that, and then I'll forget to pick up where I left off that evening, but then I can see like, oh, that was where I last was. So yes, hope that answers your question, the man behind the screen. Essentially it boils down to chapter breakdowns in dot points of major plot beats, reveals, twists, things like that. Sometimes lines of dialogue, if I'm like, oh, that's a cool line, or if there's like something important that I'm like, I need, and then it helps with restructuring because I can just like copy and paste the different dot points to make sure everything flows nicely. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much. All right, I'm just going to take a sip from my drink. Oh, so good. Oh, you're the same way as well, Samuel. It helps. For me, it just helps me organize my thoughts and keep things like somewhat cohesive in my head. So I'm really glad that works for you too. So our next question comes from Carmina. Have you ever played Supergiant's game Pyre? I have not. I have not played Pyre just yet. I think for me, the biggest thing that was kind of putting me off of playing it was, while I do love RPG elements and it's like an RPG with like a combat system included in it, the combat system, from the way it looked visually, it looked a little bit like similar structure to a sports game. For me, I don't do sports games. They just don't interest me at all. And so I was worried that I feel really out of my depth or like not used to the mechanics and I'd find it off-putting. I should check it out though, because I love Supergiant games so much. In case you couldn't tell from like the numerous weeks I've been playing Hades. So I really should try it out sometime. It's just that unfortunately I've got a ton of other games that I want to play or finish playing at the moment, like Hollow Knight and Death Stranding. So at some point I will pick it up, but just not yet. I really want to though, because Supergiant just makes amazing games. So thank you so much for your question, Carmina, and I'm assuming that means you've played it as well, and if so, and if you're in the chat tonight, I think you are, would you recommend it? As someone who loves RPGs but not as a fan of the sports game mechanic. That was the only big thing that was putting me off. But thank you so much for your question. Okay, the game is very much wizard basketball. I also don't really do sports games, but damn, the story wasn't the best one I've been through. Okay, in that case, I'll check it out. I will really consider checking it out. Okay, everything's going good with the giveaway. I'm actually just going to pop that out. Rearrange some things. And there we go. Alright, but thank you so much for your questions so far, guys. They've been fun. Okay, so the next question comes from Regem. How much backstory / character development have you given the Seraph of stories as a character? Very good question. The Seraph of stories, I've given her a backstory in terms of like her origins, how she came to be. I haven't really put her in her own story yet. She has a backstory to kind of add context as to like why her wings are the way they are, with them being like the made of paper instead of feathers or other materials, and other aspects to her. So I think it was because actually a friend asked if I had a backstory for her, and so I wrote out this whole thing. I think it was for some kind of project, but they never got back to me on it. So she does have a fully written backstory. It's just I haven't really put much thought into if she's going to be part of her own story. Because I made her back when I first started, or when my channel first started, and she was she still is my narration persona. Oh, Vox Puppy, are you having a really problem with the bitrate? Because I think it's still good for everyone else. It might just be your connection. But getting back to the question, I haven't really given her a full separate story other than like the main beats as her backstory. Because this was back when when I first made her, I made her in mind of going off of what my what others in the creepypasta narration community had done before with their personas, in which some of them had fully written stories, others had just like a couple of little bits of backstory, others had no backstory at all. But I think for some people it was a good way to kind of flesh out their characters more, to make them fully realized characters, because then people would want to either do like fan art or write fan fiction about them, and so then they could say like, oh yeah, my character did X, Y, and Z, or they're part of this story, or they're integrated into this story in this way. So she has her own backstory. It's never really come into play though. I have considered writing her own story at some point, but I haven't really had the chance to sit down and probably think it through or like fully realize that particular project, just because I've been working on other ASMR tales or other projects. So she does have a sense of a backstory. She doesn't really have any full character development yet, as it were. She might over time if I sit down and fully write out a story for her, but I'm not quite sure, just because she's still very much my persona that I use online, and my narration persona in every way. I just haven't got around to writing it down yet, but hopefully that answers your question, Regem. Thank you so much. Samuel, that's a good question. Possibly? I would have to think about it, because I'm not quite sure what I would do for her just yet. I'd have to think about it. I have to think about it. But just to make sure that everyone is seeing everything clearly, is anyone else having buffering issues? Just because everything's going, as far as I can tell, smoothly for everyone else, it might just be one or two people's connection. Just because I don't want to mess with the settings for OBS between streams, because I'll have to stop everything, so... Okay, good. In that case, I'm just gonna keep going. So, the next question I have is from the man behind the screen. Who's your favorite character in 40k lore so far, and why? Also, no, you can't cheat and use one of your own. Damn it. I'm sure everyone's got their favorites, but Lady Vlecthael, just... come on. She's so good. She's so good at being bad, and I love her. That's a good question. Maybe because I've read The Torturer's Tale so many times, and so I love narrating Vect and that story that he's reading. I love just embodying that effortless evil and sinister nature that he has, but that's just more maybe like my own enjoyment of getting to read his story. I don't know his full history as a character, so I would say a little bit of him, but I think honestly, because I know a little bit more about her, maybe Saint Celestine? Because, like, she's a fucking badass angel, like, warrior of the Emperor. She's so fucking cool. Like, she went from a Sister Repentia into a living saint. And, fuck yes. Like, living saint, avatar of the God Emperor, I don't know. She's just cool. She's really cool. I do need to probably verse myself into more established characters. I think I also, the aesthetics of Sanguinius is cool as fuck. it's like, if you couldn't tell already, I kind of have a thing for like angel imagery or like religious iconography. Just, I would probably have to say Celestine, with like a light sprinkling of Sanguinius and Vect, I think. And you know, just of course my own OCs, Do Not Steal. Just, I love them. I love my two badass girls so much. Because when I came up with when I came up with my Techno Priest character, Ivalax Hezd, I was like, oh fuck, that's a cool name. That's a cool fucking name. So yes, of course, I love my OCs. I love Lady Black Thael, and I love Ivalax Hezd, but I gotta go with Sister Celestine. She's so fucking badass! And Sanguinius hits both the angel and the vampire aesthetics. Yes, exactly! God, like, the thing about so many of, like, the aesthetics and character descriptions, it's just so over the top and it's glorious. So, okay, that would be my answer. Like, Celestine with side helping of Vect and Sanguinius, I think. Also, my two beautiful OCs. But thank you so much for your question. And our next question comes from Captain Deadpool. Out of all the gods in Greek mythology, which one you feel had the worst treatment by the main gods? Okay. So. Let me explain. 1 second. Because I've got two. Because when I was putting all these questions to mind, I was thinking of like maybe an idea of how to answer them. And then when I realized my answer to Deadpool's question, I was like, okay, it requires a bit of explanation. So out of all the gods in Greek mythology, which do you feel had the worst treatment by the main gods? Of course, there's a number of them. Each of them have their own flaws, and but I'm talking like, specifically you said worst treatment by the main gods. While of course they're all screwing each other over and doing horrible things to each other, I do have a great spot of sympathy for Hera, Queen of the Heavens, Goddess of Gods, Zeus's wife. I just wish that she'd take her frustrations out on Zeus and not on the poor mortals that he messes around with. So, like, because I think she's the one who... she does a lot of, like, the smoting and the turning into animals and cursing into oblivion because, like, Zeus was wandering around and, like, the slightest hint of light caught this unfortunate person by chance. 9 times out of 10, they're running the opposite direction. They don't want anything to do with Zeus. And so, but Zeus still does it again and again and again and again. Being unfaithful to his wonderful wife, Hera, who is the goddess of family and marriage. But yeah, I think, honestly, she has been hugely villainized in a lot of ways. I just wish in some ways in every way, she would take it out on Zeus and not the mortals. But, you know, that's not the way that the myths are written. So that's one half of my answer. I think in a different context, because it's, of all the gods in Greek mythology, which do you feel has some worst treatment? Not necessarily by the main gods. Well, he has had a lot of bad brushes with the other gods. I think Hades, honestly. In terms of being screwed over by other gods, Hera's definitely my vote. In terms of getting screwed over, worst treatment, Hades. Like, he was swallowed by his father, he was given the domain of the underworld, he is constantly shit on in so many ways, but also revered with respect by mortals, but he's kind of deemed, like, difficult in a lot of ways. I think, honestly, when I was thinking, like, worst treatment, I think it's because, like, modern pop culture has in a way to kind of try and have a similar allegory of like divine, holy, light God, good God being of heavens, and sky bearing equals good, and then lower God of underworld and dead things equals evil, which of course it's not the case when it comes to Greek mythology, but popular culture since a long ass time has always depicted Hades as being like either conniving or sinister or malicious in some regard, or something attributed to aspects of evil or corruption, because like darkness equals evil, because okay, whatever. So I think honestly interpretations of Hades for like the longest period when I was growing up was always like Hades equals evil, but no, he's the god of wealth. He is the underworld, which is all the wealths of the underworld. He's not just like the god of the dead, he is like god of wealth and riches, and that's why I love media like Hades Town and Lore Olympus so much, is because they do their research and they care so much for these myths, and they want to do them justice and portray them in the best possible way that is not only a wonderful modern interpretation of these gods, but it also feels accurate to the true nature of these gods, and all characters that are entwined with their mythologies. So yeah, that's my that would be my answer to Deadpool's question. So out of all the gods in Greek mythology, which do you feel are the worst treatment by the main gods? Hera, in terms of like the classical mythology, being screwed over by Zeus and all of his infidelity. In modern pop culture, I would say Hades. But thank you so much for your question, Deadpool. And with that, we come to the end of our questions from our Discord, from my Twitch subs and my patrons. So if you... Actually, no. We have one more. We have a question from Scarlett. God damn it, Scarlett. Okay, 1 second. From Scarlett Novella. She just DM'd me. Question: who is the superior husbando? Multiple choice is appreciated. Do you want me to go alphabetically or by genre? And thank you for the hydrate check, Hayden. Well, I think on this answer. Okay, fuck. If we're talking... This might be my longest answer yet. Okay, fuck. So, if we're talking anime adjacent characters that just have my entire heart, and I love them to death, because I need to clarify, because you used the term husbando, Scarlett, and this, I'm trying to limit my list as much as possible. Scarlett, you need to clarify. Is this purely anime or anime style animation, or is this just fictional media? You do need to clarify, because either my list is going to get very, very long or just a little bit more manageable. And don't answer with just yes again, I can see chat. Scarlett, why? Why do you do this to me? I thought I was your friend. Okay. Okay, fine. Okay. Fine. The first one that comes immediately to mind is Adrian Tepesh, aka Alucard from Transylvania. Castlevania. Sorry, brain not work right now. Adrian Tepesh from Castlevania. Specifically the animated series, because just... My baby, I love him. Just... The boy tries. And I love him so much. Oh, Talon, I know. So, off the top of my head, Adrian Tepesh from Castlevania. I know who you want me to say, Scarlett, but I'm not going to say it, because I haven't yet played the game. So I don't want to say who you want me to say yet because I haven't played the game. I just like what I've gathered from cultural osmosis, so I will not answer that particular. I will not say that particular name. Okay. I'll go through in the category of long, silver or light-haired anime-esque badass boys with sadness. Adrian Tebish from Castlevania, Thranduil of Mirkwood, Prince Nuada from Hellboy 2, Jareth the Goblin King, yeah. Okay, going slightly into more anime list. There's a gradient happening in case you couldn't notice. Going slightly into the more anime gradient, we're going to go with I will not apologize. Tomura Shigaraki from My Hero Academia, then Hawks from My Hero Academia. Shoto Aizawa from My Hero Academia. Darby from My Hero Academia. I would be more infatuated with Darby from My Hero Academia if I was more of a teenager, but just he makes me feel like I'm like 19 or like a teenager again discovering anime for the first time. Anyone else? Shoto Aizawa, Darby, Sebastian Michaelis from Black Butler. Trying to think of other anime. Above that, going back to slightly the more gradient of like silver into blue haired territory with Tomura Shigaraki, we're going to go with the Count from Gankoksuo, the Count of Monte Cristo, my favorite anime. I love it. He's very pretty. And oh, Scarlet, you're right. All Might from My Hero Academia too. And the thing is, I would say Trevor from Castlevania, but I think someone else in chat has already called dibs, and he tries. He's a puppy. Exactly. Like, I'm not gonna say Trevor because Scarlett's already called mine. Who else? Alucard from Helsing as well. Alucard from Helsing. Going through the list. Probably Levi Ackerman from Attack on Titan. List. I'm trying to go mentally through all of my animes, all the animes that are most strongest in my memory at the moment. Elias Ainsworth from Ancient Magus Bride. I love me a monster boy. Okay, now we're gonna go into monster boys. Okay. Hang on, Scarlett's sent me another DM apparently. I said I was gonna get into monster boys, Scarlett. So, thank you for bringing that to mind. Pyramid Head. Yeah. It would be a wistful, longing admiration from afar as he drags that massive sword through Silent Hill, just admiring it from a distance, a very safe distance, within running distance. I've not seen Ruby yet, Ragebull. I tried to get into it, it just didn't fit for me. I think I watched maybe the first season and a half. Monster Boys. The thing is, there's one person I want to say. One creature, I should say. But this was the list of fictional men, and he's real. But since some people just refuse to acknowledge his existence, while I think this list could go on and on and on, I don't want to spend like an hour and a half talking about all of like my fictional husbandos, but I'll just end this list with one that is on the gradient scale of fictional and non-fictional. Mothman. Of course it's fucking Mothman, yes. Mothman wins by default. He's just so big and his wings are so big and he looks like he gives good hugs. Yay, Mothman! Do, do, do. Do, 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 do. Mothman. But yes, Mothman. Mothman is what I'm going to end that list of fictional husbandos on. Because yes, the one that you gifted me in the chat, in the DM, Scarlet, that was who I was going to say. But again, I haven't played the game yet, so I'm not going to say it. Yes, Mothman. Mothman makes me very happy. Sorry, moths are like my favorite creature. So a giant, like 9-10 foot tall cryptid who looks like a moth and lurks in the woods and is tall and fuzzy. Just yes. Oh, also on that list is probably Venom somewhere. Like, put him like at some point on the list. He's probably between like Mothman and Pyramid Head. I don't know. I have a long list. I just haven't gone around to writing specifically. But top of my list is probably, well, the first one that came to mind was Adrian Tepesh from Castlevania and Mothman. Yeah. Oh, Regen, that's the thing I need to then go through because my mind was just locked on anime mode, and now if we're going to go into games, fuck. I have to go with like Thanatos and Dionysus and Zagreus and just so many gorgeous, gorgeous people from Hades, and there's so many other games. They're just all so pretty. I have such a long list, you guys. Wait a sec. Oh. And now I feel terrible. Now I feel terrible because I almost forgot someone. Guys. Like Mothman and Adrian Tepesh. Like lights of my life. Vicaris fucking Vicarian. I'm sorry, Garrus. I almost forgot you. Just... If you've played Mass Effect, you know Garrus fucking Vicarian. You do not go wrong with Garrus Vicarian. I'm sorry. I feel bad. I'm sorry, guys. But I think with that, I'll wrap up that question, Scarlet. Geralt of Rivia is definitely on there, and like he should probably be towards like that category of like silvery and gold haired sad boys with anger issues. Yeah. If you can tell, I have a type. Thank you, Zanchly. We all have a massive list of husbando/waifus. It's okay if we forget one now and then. Thank you. I'm sure they will forgive me too. Yes, my boy Garrus and Geralt of Rivia. Just, Oh, and of course Milo Belladonna from Monster Camp. Damien. See what I mean? There's just so many games with so many hot people. And... Codename Archangel. But yes. There is a very long list. A very long list of people who make me very, very happy. And of fictional husbandos that make me very happy. So with that, I think I will wrap up your question, Scarlet. Thank you so very much for asking it. I hope that my flustered moments of fluster have brought you endless joy this evening. I'm glad that you continue to support me, both on my channel and also emotionally by just being a wonderful friend and just doing this to me live on stream. So, with that, we will now move on to taking questions from the chat. In that case, I will not be able to keep up as so much with like the most recent questions. Once the questions start coming in, I will start going from just general, top to bottom, reading and answering as many of them as possible. If you haven't yet joined the giveaway for the Steam Key copy of Resident Evil Village, be sure to do so with the prompt ! giveaway. The chat is, of course, reminding you the wonderful Streamlabs bot. But yes, be sure to get your tickets in. We still have just over an hour to go with the giveaway, so for the next hour or so, I will be answering questions from chat. So, have at it. Of course, if questions deem I find them like a little bit too invasive, or I would prefer to keep information private, I'll of course let you know and just request that you ask another one, but it's all good. We're all here to relax and have a good time. Oh, Scarlett, I know I should have expected this. I know. And yet, somehow, I trusted you. But Rachel is a good question. In the Witcher universe, I would maybe be more inclined to be a sorceress. Yeah, I would want to go down Yennefer's path personally, just because magic looks so fucking cool in that universe. So yes, I would probably, maybe not a monster hunter, because it's a little bit too gruesome for me. I'd probably be more leaning towards magic. Okay, first question from Chef Alpharius. Who is the best Primarch and why is it Alpharius? To be honest, Alpharius, I must apologize because I am not as well versed in Warhammer lore as I would like to be. I don't know the names of all of the Primarchs off the top of my head. Sanguinius is fucking cool. Like, I like his aesthetic because it's like vampire and angel. Fuck yeah. So I cannot confirm or deny my stance in Alpharius, whether or not he is the best Primarch. But you know what? Since you seem to be quite fond, I'd say, you know what? Everyone's got their own favourite Primarch. I think maybe Sanguinius is maybe leaning more towards my personal favourite. But everyone, to each their own. To each their own. Thank you so much for your question. Top 10 Anime Portrayals, yes. Okay, interesting question from the Storyteller Bree. Just out of curiosity, is the old design of the Seraph, the one with the feathered wings and the white dress, still technically canon? I would say that outfit is not canon anymore. That was the initial design that I had for her when I first started as a narrator, before I could really like plan out visually what I wanted her to look like. Or like what I thought would like really set her out from the crowd, because as much as I loved her first design with the white dress and like the 4 wings, once I sat down and I was like, okay, she's got to be the Seraph of stories, and then I pinned down exactly what I wanted her look to be, and I did research and like, okay, I want this and I want this and I want this. I would say that her original design, while it is very nostalgic for me to look back on it, I would say it's not canon to her story as a whole. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you so much. Okay, Brian, do you love cats or dogs? We always had cats growing up, but since my sister got her corgi, I love dogs. I love dogs so much. Cats are great. I love cats so much. The thing is, I've just grown up with cats for so long, and as such, I've lost a lot of cats as pets. So, as much as I love them, I can't really see myself owning a cat. I would be probably more inclined to get a dog, personally. Both of them are amazing. I think I'm maybe leaning more towards being a dog person, but kitties is just so cute, and I love them. Like, I would say I like them equally, but if I'm gonna get a larger, more long-term pet, it would probably be a dog. Most likely be a dog. Okay, next question. Do you have any fictional characters that you would definitely give the finger? That's a good question. Any fictional characters that I would definitely give the finger. Professor Umbridge from Harry Potter. Just because I would love to see her shocked Karen face, just disgusted at a vulgar display of such profanity. I think that would also be like both terrifying and hilarious, considering that she's an actual witch and could probably like curse me into oblivion. But just for those sweet few seconds of flipping her off, I would definitely give it to her. Also, just because it's coming to mind, I can't remember her name of her at the moment, but like the main caretaker slash manager of the orphanage in The Promised Neverland. You know who I'm talking about if you've watched The Promised Neverland. Just fuck you. Anyone else that I'm like extremely pissed off at? Just because like I know he wouldn't have a reaction to it, but I think it would just still kind of be hilarious. Any fictional characters I would definitely give the finger to, because I know he would have no reaction to it, but he would just like keep advancing towards me. I could see myself like just being so frustrated at Mr. X from Resident Evil, and just like out of exhaustion you flip him off and he just doesn't say anything, he just keeps striding towards you, and just, you know what, it was worth it. It was worth it. I've broken all my bones, but it was worth it. Oh, I'm sure there's others, but I just can't think of them at the moment. Yeah, definitely Zeus as well, from just mythology in general. Like he doesn't come across as too bad in Hades. Yeah, probably him too. But then again, I'd be cursed to oblivion. Anyone else I've like especially loathed? Oh, you know what? There's one more. It's more of like a book character. So if you've read Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman, there's a character in it called the Angel Islington. Yeah, I'd flip him off. Again, I wouldn't survive how it would happen afterwards, but you know what? I'd flip the Angel Islington off. And with that, I'm going to wrap up that particular answer, because I just can't think of anyone else off the top of my head. You know what? Because I also fucking love Good Omens. Good Omens is my favorite book. Archangel Michael. Yeah, I'd like to get away with that. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Storyteller Bree. Oh no, wait, sorry, it wasn't Storyteller Bree, apologies. It was Rageball1. Thank you so much for your question, Rageball. Hopefully that answers it to your satisfaction. From Regem 101, what led to choosing the blue rose as a visual symbol? Good question. The blue rose, I wanted it to be like entwined with my character's aesthetics, because with the blue rose as a symbol in the symbology of flowers, it is a flower representing something that is mysterious and otherworldly, which the Seraph of Stories very much is. I liked the idea of having something that I hadn't seen as a symbol in terms of like being incorporated into the aesthetics of a narration persona before. So I was like, okay, like the wings and the blue rose, that could be like some really key visuals when it comes to my persona, because then when you see like the 6 wings and the blue rose, that's how you know it's related to the Seraph of Stories. Also, I love roses. Roses are my favorite flower, and one point of pride that I have that I do very much love about myself is the really intense blue of my eyes. So I knew that blue would be a very important color that would entwine like my character to myself in innumerable ways. So I think just roses are my favorite color. Blue is one of my favorite colors, and it's something that entwines my persona directly to me as a person. So yeah, I think because, again, it wasn't something I'd seen done before. I'd seen people incorporate roses, but they were like blue roses, not blue roses, red roses or black roses, or I think maybe even like a purple rose, because those were all more aligned with gothic color palettes. Whereas a blue rose, it wasn't something I'd seen before. And I thought that not only tied in beautifully with my character's aesthetics, but it also is a flower that I love very dearly, and it ties into with me as a person. So hopefully that answers your question, Regen. Thank you so much. Okay, next question from Scarlet Novella. You find yourself in a hallway. There are 2 doors. On one door it says Darby, and the other door says Surprise Potential. Which door do you open? You know what? I would walk up to the door with Darby on it. I would just listen carefully, and then I'd probably change my mind and go for Surprise Potential, just because, like, I say Darby as like a kind of like anime husbando, but he's a fucking asshole. And you know what? If I ever met him in real life, he'd probably be like one of the worst people to hang out with. So I would honestly go with Surprise Potential. I would want to be surprised. But hopefully that answers your question. I'm very curious what you had in mind behind that Surprise Potential door. Okay, Dragon King 4499. So glad you're able to make it tonight. Hi Steph, I was able to make your stream after all, but only for a short while. I left a question on Twitter, but I have this one as well. What is your absolute favorite fictional universe? I will just ask, just because I'm not going to be checking my phone across the evening. I just checked my DMs quickly because Scarlett sent me something. But yes, if you do have a question, please put it in the Twitch chat, just because I really try not to look at my social media, otherwise I get very distracted by my phone very easily. So yes, if you have a question, please post it in the chat. But I will answer this one you have now. What is your absolute favorite fictional universe? That is a very good question. There is a number. There is a number of fictional universes that I find equally enthralling and absolutely terrifying, because I love so many different worlds for what they offer. I love the universe, like for example, I love the fictional universe of My Hero Academia, because it makes me feel like it gives me that sense of joy and elation that I feel when I was first discovering anime, and it's an amazing world to explore. Like, it's really messed up in so many ways once you get into the manga chapters and you start to look, it starts to be more critical of a superhero society, but it is a amazing universe that is just fun, and it's got so much attention to detail, and I love so much. That one's definitely up there. Of course, I grew up with Harry Potter, so I love the Harry Potter universe, and in so many ways, the fact that it is kind of like entwined with our real world as someone who lives in London and goes around to these areas of London where everything looks like there is magic in the walls, in the brickwork, in the architecture. Like, if you just went down the right alley, then you'd find something amazing. But at the same time, that's something that's heavily prevalent in a lot of Neil Gaiman's works, especially books like Neverwhere and other books like Good Omens, which heavily draws on biblical mythology and all that in innumerable ways. So part of me wants to say like Neil Gaiman magical realism lore, fictional universe sort of thing, because that is like just one that I find endless amounts of joy and love in. But it's kind of like alternative universe with biblical mythology, but then also magical realism. And it's like American Gods is also in there. Like, fuck, there's so many good ones. And it's also going in with the assumption, like, am I a part of this universe and therefore have powers and agency in it? Like, for example, if I was like, my favorite universe is My Hero Academia, do I have a quirk, or am I just a standard person? Same with Harry Potter. Like, do I have a wand? Am I magical, or am I just a person? So I think I would say Harry Potter for like the sense of nostalgia that I feel when I go back to it. I honestly really don't engage with it anymore, just since it's kind of been soured for me in recent years. But it still has a very special place in my heart. When it comes to like fictional universes that I've lost hours and hours and hours in games, Ceates. I spent so much time playing Dragon Age Inquisition, you have no idea. Exploring every nook and cranny, that one's really cool. Skyrim as well, like the Elder Scrolls fictional universe is really cool. Like, I love me some good fantasy. I don't know. There's just so many amazing universes out there. Maybe because like it's just revealing even more amazing things about it. I'd say also the Marvel fictional universe as well. I know there's multiple universes out there, but I'm just going off of what the cinematic universe has unveiled so far. That's also amazing. So, to keep my answer somewhat concise, I'm gonna go with Harry Potter for nostalgia's sake, My Hero Academia because of like the amazing like excitement and joy I feel at that universe. Ceates, Skyrim / Elder Scrolls universe in general. What else? Middle Earth in a lot of ways, because I've always like the Shire just looks amazing and beautiful, and I would love to visit there, as well as other places like Mirkwood. I would like the idea of like if this was like a full self-insert into fictional universe, maybe something like in Middle Earth, like being a cartographer. Like a cartographer for Middle Earth, and you go to all these amazing cities and towns, and you just make maps. You make maps and you explore and you kill orcs along the way. Like that sounds like a pretty cool life. Of course I'd be an elf because I would like to live long enough to enjoy seeing everything. Oh, but thank you so much, Scarlett, for joining us tonight. You take care and rest well, sweetie. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your questions. You take care, okay? Just doing a quick mental check if there's anything else. Can't really think of any other universes off the top of my head, but those ones that I've already kind of described were definitely the ones that were coming to mind. But thank you so much for your question. I will say one more fictional universe that I love. I absolutely love. Does Animal Crossing count? I think it counts. Animal Crossing, please. I want to make a beautiful home in the woods with my animal friends and just do nothing but run around and plant flowers and fish and catch bugs all day and look up at the fireworks and every Sunday night in summer and celebrate New Year's with my animal friends and have my family visit my beautiful island that I made from scratch. And yes, I think, honestly, just describing it, I'm just like, my favorite fictional universe is Animal Crossing. Okay, I think that's probably my definitive answer for all of the badass imaginings of like, oh yeah, I'd be like a sorcerer and like the Witcher universe, or I'd have a quirk in like My Hero Academia universe. I just want to fucking fish and catch bugs and own property in Animal Crossing. Yeah, that's what I'm coming. That's my answer. But thank you so much for your question. Oh, but we got a hydrate and we got a stretch check, so I'm gonna do those. Thank you. Ooh. Oh, thank you for the stretch check, Rejab, and the hydrate check, Daniel. Much appreciated. Okay, guys, we've got just over 45 minutes to get the last tickets in for the Steam key. So if you haven't joined the raffle yet, be sure to do so with the Commander giveaway, ! Giveaway. And we'll move on to the next question. Okay, Hayden, what is your favorite bad movie or movie in the so bad it's good category? Oh. Favorite bad movie. The thing is, it's not a bad movie. Not really. It's one that culture has told you it's bad. It's actually not terrible. Twilight? I don't know. Maybe Twilight. Like, I saw Cats once, and then I'm just like, you know what? Now I've seen it, I don't want to see it again. But I just keep coming back and watching Twilight again. And I don't know whether it's just like the pure escapism I felt when I was a teenager and I was first reading those books. And so then a part of me is kind of like giggling a little bit of just like, oh my God, I remember this. And I have to quote the lines so dramatically. But it's a movie that brings me joy. It is a movie that brings me so much joy to watch it. Both in just like the flair for the dramatics and just having a bit of a giggle at it. But it's a well-made film. The cinematography is pretty great. Dialogue, a little bit. It's based on an okay book, but that's an entirely different conversation for another time. It's not necessarily a bad movie. It's just, it's really not everyone's cup of tea. It's a guilty pleasure movie. It's a guilty pleasure movie for me, definitely. There's probably others in there that I can't think of at the moment. Because the thing is, I've got relatively good taste when it comes to movies, I would like to think. So when it comes to movies that it's either so bad it's good, or it's just like bad movies in general, I'm really just struggling to think of like what other ones come to mind. But in terms of ones that like pop culture says is a bad movie, I would say probably the first Twilight I've watched probably the most, because like the color gradient is like it's teal. It's just teal everywhere mostly. But you know what? It brings me joy to watch it, and so just I love it. I love it so much. But yes, that is my answer to your question, Hayden. Thank you so much. Okay, next question from the storyteller Bree. Who has been your favorite character to voice or write for? I'm going to break this into two separate categories for like a favorite character that I voiced that I didn't write, and a favorite character that I voiced and wrote for. I think my favorite character that is one like that I wrote the dialogue and everything for would be definitely just trying to think. It's difficult to pick a favorite. Maybe because I because she's the most recent in mind. I love Queen Kava, my beautiful Dryder queen, from my love. It's now even like its full ASMR tale at this point. What started out as just a one-shot character, Queen Kava of the Crystal Caverns, my gorgeous Dryder. I don't know, I just love her. I love that soothing, calming nature, and I like doing those little like spidery clicks, those little clicks of noise. I just love that she's sweet and she's kind, but she's also like firm and powerful as a queen. I love also voicing like characters who have those like delicious, sumptuous voices. Like Lady Black-Thael is a lot of fun to voice as well. in terms of characters that I have voiced, but I didn't write, I had a lot of fun actually with Inquisitor Verity Calendra from Oculus's audio drama special. Like, yes, she's great. I love her. I seem to have a knack for playing characters who have that very like that sense of command and focus, but also have like it goes either two ways. It's a character that has like a very articulate voice. They're very well spoken. They're very precise in what they say, but then they either go into the direction of being like soft spoken and sinister, and they really want to get the point across that you need to be afraid of them, or they go into the warmer territory where they're much kinder and inviting, and oh, you've had a bad day, well, come here. They're both from that root of having that sense of command and power to them. I like voicing powerful female characters, but then they either take like a sinister turn, or like they're much more warm, and then you have like Lady Vlecthael, who's somewhere right down the middle, in which she is, I'm gonna put comforting in massive air quotes, but she's like, to the listener character, she's just like leaning into that kind of playfulness, kind of in the way that you would see like a cat playing with a mouse, or like something like a lion playing with a mouse. Like, oh, like the power imbalance is so fucking off. But yes, I would think off the top of my head, Inquisitor Verity Calendra for characters I love voicing, Lady Vlecthael and Queen Kava for the ones that I've enjoyed writing as well as voicing. But thank you so much for your question. For our next question, we have one from BrianNB7236. Who is your favorite villain in horror movies? Good question. Oh, now I'm excited. Now I get to think. Pyramid Head. There's a lot of great villains out there. If we're talking like classic slashers, you can't go wrong with icons like Candyman, Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, like unstoppable fucking badasses. I think honestly one that is goes under a lot of people's radar is Bram Hillshire from The Boy. Like, The Boy is actually, in my opinion, at least, an underrated horror movie. Don't watch The Boy 2, it's awful. First one is actually not too bad, and Bram Hillshire, baby, he just wants to be loved and be creepy and possessive. But yeah, there's a lot of villains out there. If we're talking more, maybe more art housey kind of horror movies, Black Phillip from The Witch, and it's not necessarily a villain, it's more of a force. I would say in terms of like distinct villains and less like concepts, because I was going to say something like The Cult from Midsommar, but that's more just like a large group, as it were. It's not necessarily down to one villain. So if we're going to be talking like one single villains, Black Phillip from The Witch. I was going to say like Mother of Sighs from Suspiria, but again, like not necessarily a villain, it's more of a sinister force, but it's the metaphor. So I think like Pyramid Head, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Bram Hillshire, Black Phillip, horror movies, Candyman as well. Because I'm trying to go away from like groups of villains. I think ones that actually got really badly under my skin were the Tethered in Us, because like as someone who has frequent occurrences of like things lining up, or things falling into place so perfectly, which is a big theme in that movie, of things happening to fall into sync, or patterns of numbers popping up a lot. The idea of the tethered is actually really fucking creepy to me. But that again is kind of more of a group thing. But specifically, I think the character's name is Red in Us. Red, aka Lupita Nyong'o's other self in Us, is also up there as well. Also, like, she's not a villain, she's just misunderstood, but I love Carrie White. Carrie White from Carrie! Oh, sweetie, I want to be your friend so badly. But I'm sorry, getting way too invested in this. Yes, I'm trying to, like, minimize this a little bit. Hannibal Lecter, of course. Hannibal Lecter in a number of interpretations. I love Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs. My heart, my soul, and my body, and all of the organs within it fucking belong to Hannibal Lecter in the TV series as portrayed by Mads Mikkelsen. I swear to God, he could take one of my kidneys, like, beautifully presented, and cook it to its absolute exquisite, most delicious self, serve it to me on a plate, and I would actually consider taking a bite. Because I just love him so fucking much. I love Mads Mikkelsen so much. He's one of my favorite actors, and just his performance as Hannibal Lecter in that just... I know it's very messed up. But you know what? If you guys are happy to accept, oh yeah, Pyramid Head and all that, and then you're like, Hannibal Lecter as portrayed by Mads Mikkelsen, like, oh, okay, now I see it. So yes, those are the biggest ones that are kind of coming to mind. I tried to pick a couple that are just like more classic monsters slashers, and then more like conceptual ones like Black Phillip, and then just Hannibal Lecter as portrayed by Mads Mikkelsen. Yes, please. But yes, hopefully that answers your question, Brian. Thank you so much. Okay, Dragon King, your other question was, any big projects planned for the future? I do have one that I've kind of been working a bit on and off with. I haven't worked on it in the past month or so, just because I've been in a tricky headspace where I have like the moments of really good focus and I can get a lot of writing done, and then other times it's like really, really sluggish for me. So at the moment I'm still working on ASMR tales and keep making amazing content for my YouTube channel for you guys to enjoy. There was something a lot bigger that I have been working on or planning for a very long time now. It's nowhere near ready to be announced quite yet, because there's still a lot of stuff I got to do behind the scenes, but I'm really hoping that I can announce it, maybe not this year, but next year. It requires a lot of groundwork on my end, but it's something that I'm still very excited for. It just requires a lot of work, and I am a one-woman army in this, so when it is announced, I'll be very excited to announce it, but it's just not quite ready yet. I have ideas for other things, like other ASMR tales, including like longer ASMR tales, the multi-chapter ones, but I don't yet have anything that I can announce quite yet, if that makes sense. But thank you so much for your question, Dragon King. Oh, thank you so much for joining us, man behind the screen. Sorry, I'm catching up with chat slowly as we're going, because I'm trying to answer like all the older questions before I get to the newer ones. Oh, Rage Bull 1, what is your favorite Pokemon? I love Vulpix. Of course, like, I've got most of a full party of Pokemon, full team of Pokemon already planned out in my head, but Vulpix, it holds a very special place in my heart, because that was the Pokemon I wanted so badly when I was a kid growing up with Pokemon. It was a cute little Firefox. It is just so cute. Oh, baby! So Vulpix has a very, very special place in my heart. I love Vulpix to pieces. And then in turn, I love Ninetales. Ninetales, it's just majestic and beautiful and ethereal and elegant. Just, yes. If I was, again, fictional universes, Pokemon universe, because I watched Detective Pikachu a few weeks ago, and just like my whole heart was just like, let me be in that universe. I want to live with Pokemon so badly. Another fictional universe I'd absolutely want to be a part of, but I would want like a little Vulpix. Vulpix is so cute. So yes, hopefully that answers your question. I also love other Pokemon like Corviknight, Litwick, and Chandelure. Side note, I also adore the Alolan versions of Vulpix and Ninetales, if not more, because like now they're blue and they're pretty, and there's just so many cool Pokemon out there. But I think Vulpix holds a very special place in my heart. The Metloid Man, do you have any audio or written story about the Seraph of stories? This kind of ties back into the question I answered before about her backstory. I have written out her backstory, but I haven't yet released any of it to the public. If I was going to potentially do it, I would maybe want to write like a short story and release it somehow, but I haven't yet planned on doing that anytime soon. So I do have a written backstory for her, but it just hasn't been released to the public yet. But hopefully that answers your question. Thank you so much. Jen Newsom, what's a book you haven't read that you really want to? You guys can't see it behind me, but that's kind of my sleeping space back there. I have a stack of books next to my bed that I really need to get around to reading at some point. I would have to say probably at the top of that list though is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. It's a very dense book though. I think it's like, say, maybe like that thick, at least the copy that I have. So it's a book that I really, really, really want to read, but I just haven't got around to it yet. But one day I will. One day. And I haven't yet watched the rest of the series yet. I've only seen season 1, because I kind of don't want to get super spoiled for what happens, because I want to read the book first. But yes, one day I will get around to reading it. But thank you so much for your question. Trying to catch up with the chat. Okay, from Daniel, Marvel or DC? Marvel. Maybe just because like they've been releasing so many amazing movies, and I've become so invested in that universe and in those characters that I'm just like, I love them. I love it so much. I want to be in that story so much. So I would say Marvel. Me personally, like, of course, I actually grew up more with DC, with Teen Titans specifically, but just I've fallen so much more in love with Marvel, not just for the Avengers, but with like the X-Men ones, as well. Like, I'm really hoping that we get more X-Men stories that are incorporated into the Marvel universe more and more. I have seen WandaVision, and I'm very excited what they might be building into with more X-Men stuff, hopefully. But yes, I would say through and through Marvel, absolutely. Okay, Talon, you've got a question for me. I'll give this question thing a go. You're in Vampire the Masquerade universe. You get to be in any time throughout human history. When would you like to exist, and what clan would you be? Okay. This is actually something that I have maybe thought about. But I've thought about a number of cool character concepts, one of which I think would be like, okay, you know what, that would actually be really cool. Hang on. So, think. Sorry, that was a bug. Sorry about that. So, anytime in the Vampire the Masquerade universe, throughout human history, where would you like to exist, and what clan would you be? Because I would like to maybe see some of the stuff from like earlier periods of history, like 1800s. I would love to see that. But again, being a woman, not necessarily the best time for me to like... Thing is, 5 minutes in that, I would either be like put in a madhouse or like executed on the spot because I would start talking. But this is a character concept that I had in mind, and a part of me is just like, oh, should I say it? Like, no, actually, that would be really cool too, because I'm like, the clan specifically, I'm like, okay, that would be my clan. Time period, 1920s, London, vampire clan, Tremere. For those of you who aren't versed in Vampire the Masquerade, or like the lore and the clans and stuff, Tremere are essentially like the scholars, and they are magicians. Like they're blood sorcerers, so they do spells and rituals with blood and other things to either manipulate or like command or see things that others can't see, like communicate with ghosts and even control them, find and locate artifacts, and they just become scholars of history. So I think maybe 1920s London, or like Paris, and a little bit of Paris, and Tremere, I think. Like, I'll just go with that, because I was like, oh, should I talk about the character concept? But no, 1920s and Tremere, because I think, especially with that period in history, with the rise in the fascination with occultism, that's also where you get a lot of stuff for, like, Call of Cthulhu was this interest in occultism and spirituality. Having a character who actually has magical powers in that time period, it would actually be really cool to, like, kind of mess with them a little bit. Like, just... because, like, some people would actually, like, believe a lot of this stuff is real, and then you come along with all these magical powers, and, like, it would be very, very easy to start a coterie with, if you were a Tremere in the 1920s, in that whole spiritualist movement. But yes, that is all I'll say for now, but thank you so much for your question, Talon. And also, guys, we have less than half an hour. We've got 24 minutes to get the last votes in, or last tickets in, I should say, for the giveaway. So be sure to use the command !giveaway if you haven't already, to be in the running to win a copy of a Steam key for Resident Evil Village. Do. We keep those questions coming in. And hey, Joshua, I know this isn't a question, but I'm doing well. I hope you are as well. You have pancakes. Pancakes sound amazing right now. Ooh, Hayden, good question. Can you hint if we will see Sayaka anytime soon? Unfortunately, I haven't been writing any scripts in particular for like a new chapter for her, but I do have an idea for a new one. I just haven't yet sat down to properly write it out just yet, but I do have an idea for a new one, and it is very cute. So nothing planned in the immediate future, but I do have an idea in mind for another chapter, so all good things come to those who wait. But thank you so much, Hayden. Chef Alpharius, are we ever going to see the Inquisitor again? I cannot confirm or deny that. I was invited to voice the character for Oculus. So if you want to see the Inquisitor again, or have another chapter of that audio drama, or that story that Oculus and I did, then hit up Oculus. Like, reply to something on his Twitter, send him a message if you can, and just gently and kindly ask, are we going to get a sequel to that? Just because I had no part in the writing, I was the voice actor for it, but who knows? We shall see. Thank you so much for your question. I will say, Hayden, in regards to your question, so what do you pair kidney with? Maybe something like a really nice steak and kidney pie. Yeah, like, I appreciate a really good pie. And I think it's also a little bit Sweeney Todd as well, as like having my kitty cooked into a pie. Next question comes from Regen101. What would the Seraph use if she was to use a weapon? This is actually something I've thought about. She would do something, probably incorporate the blue roses that are wrapped around her gauntleted arm in some way. More than likely using it, or turning her left hand into like a whip or something like that. So then like the thorns would come wrapping around her arm, because it goes all the way down her gauntlet arm into like a long thorny whip, or like a cat of nine tails or something, and use it to both like attack and make enemies keep a distance, and then like lash out at them or entangle them, something like that. Her wings also give very bad paper cuts. Maybe something like that, and she would prefer to keep enemies at a distance. Maybe something also with like being able to fire quills or something like that, like arrows, like being able to summon them. Now I can imagine like a circle of a floating circle of quills, and then she can launch at her enemies like missiles. That would be pretty cool. But definitely something to do with a whip, like made of rose thorns. That would be good for both offense and defense, and also then like quills that she would fire at people. So yeah. There was at one point where I fully wrote everything out for another project to do with that, but I can't recall it off the top of my head. But I think that was like the main staples was the whip. Yes, Samuel, like hawks, very much like hawks in My Hero Academia with his feathers. Yes, hopefully that answers your question. Thank you so much. Oh, Daniel, what do you think about the Loki series? I love it. I love it so much. I haven't seen the most recent episode yet, so no spoilers in chat, please. But I love it so much. I love that Tom Hiddleston is just so passionate about this character. He's an executive producer on the show. I love that it's got so many amazing talents behind the scenes. A lot of women actually went into or have major roles in terms of the production. Female director, female composer, I think costume designer as well, and cinematographer. Maybe I could be wrong, but I know definitely director and composer. And it's such a good series. If you haven't checked out the Loki series yet, I highly recommend it. Yes. I love it. I love it so much. I love Loki as a character so much. Just gorgeous. Love that man. And we get so many wonderful moments with him in this series, and it's wonderful to see how much the character has grown over the years, how much passion Tom has for playing him, and I'm very, very excited to see where they take the character next. And I'm very curious to see how they're going to end it as well, because it is definitely setting up for the big things that are going to be happening in Phase 4, because this is like the start of Phase 4 with the new TV series that are coming out. But yes, if you couldn't tell already, I'm very excited for what Marvel has in store for us. Actually gonna just... Okay, that's a little bit better. But thank you so much for your question. Ragebull, would you work for the SCP Foundation? And now I am actually all caught up with the questions. So we've only got maybe like just under another 20 minutes or so before we're going to be drawing a winner and bringing the Q&A to a close. So any last questions that you guys want to ask me, be sure to send them my way in the chat. Oh, but sorry, Rachel, I'll get to your question in just a second. I just want to thank Jen Newsom for continuing your subscription. Thank you so much for your amazing support. I really appreciate it, and I'm so glad you're with us tonight, and that you continue to support my archive of lovely Lost Tales and my channel in general. Thank you. Yes. Okay, Ragebull 1, would you work with the SCP Foundation? I think it could be fun. It could be fun to see all these amazing entities out there. I'm not sure if I could keep it a secret though, because I would want to tell people about all this cool shit. But I'm not as well versed in the massive back catalogue of lore when it comes to the SCP Foundation. It sounds really cool, and some of the SCPs are amazing. I've even seen some great TikToks out there of like weird videos on TikTok, and then people stitch them or like duet them dressed as SCP Foundation members, and they're like analyzing it or making notes about it, which I find absolutely hilarious. Personally, I couldn't see myself working for them. Maybe because I would just want to tell people just like, oh my god, guys, you wouldn't believe what happened at work today. Like, we got in a baseball that is made out of teeth, and it won't stop trying to eat people. Like, I would just want to tell people about it. Oh, but thank you so much, David, for the host. I really appreciate it. Good. But yes, I would be interested in working there if I was maybe there as a consultant and I can just kind of like drop by every so often. I think also just like the risk factor would be a big thing. I would prefer to have a job where there was a decreased risk in which I would die. So if you were assigned to one of the I can't remember like the classification, but like I was gonna say gentler, but there is no gentle SCP, but one of the milder ones, maybe, but still I would want to tell people about it. But thank you so much for your question. Okay, next question from Regem101. If you were to be any D&D class, which would you be and why? Divine Soul Sorcerer. Answer that very quickly. I love playing spellcasters when it comes to D&D. And I like the idea of being able to draw from the power that is yourself. As much as I love warlocks, and I love playing warlocks, things can go very badly with the pact very, very quickly. And we're not talking about a D&D character. We're talking about me. And I worry that I would just get in a weird situation or a weird relationship with my patron, and they'd just be like, you know what, we're just gonna cut this off. Like, we're not doing this anymore. So maybe something like a sorcerer. I think a sorcerer would be the best fit for me. But also I love the Feywild as well. So I'm just trying to think, is there a sorcerer bloodline which is Fey aligned? Or like you're a child of an archfey or something like that? Because I could definitely see that. But yes, sorcerer. I think sorcerer is the best fit for me personally. Oh, well, thank you so much for your question. From Joshua, if you were a dinosaur, what kind of dinosaur would you be? Velociraptor. Velociraptor, as scientifically, as a scientifically accurate Velociraptor. I want those feathers. I want like a full, plume of feathers like a fucking cockatoo as I go running through a forest with my fucking dinosaur feet. Just hunting with my pack of amazing other velociraptors and just shrieking out in the forest like, yeah, velociraptor. Thank you so much for your question. I part of me was just like, oh, would I want to fly? But no, velociraptor. Fuck yes, I love velociraptors. Clever girl. Okay, next question is from Hayden. If you open your email to see an offer to voice a character in any media, it's your dream job. Who are you voicing? Maybe because it's just been on my brain a lot, but I would want to be invited to voice and mocap the next big Resident Evil villain. Like, maybe it's just because I've been seeing so much behind the scenes stuff for like how everything works for like the creation and the voice capture and the motion capture for Resident Evil Village. Again, I haven't had any spoilers, but yes. I think just with my voice and my experience as a voice actor and the kind of roles that I've played in the past, I could definitely see myself playing a Resident Evil villain. Of course, if the stars align and the gods from on high decide, you know what, they've waited long enough, I would also like to be a villain or a character in a Silent Hill game. Just a horror game. I think just a character in a big horror game like Silent Hill, Resident Evil, even Vampire the Masquerade, one of their amazing games. I would love to be a character in that as well. Yes. So yeah, that would be my absolute dream job, is getting an invitation to play a character like that. So thank you so much for your question, Hayden. It's the dream. It's the absolute dream, and I will one day. I will do it one day. It's a long way ahead, but I will get there. Dragon King, I think I missed my last question being answered because it's all good. Excuse me. What is your favorite non-fiction book? That's a good question. The one I can think of at the moment, just because I'm reading it at the moment, is The View from the Cheap Seats by Neil Gaiman. It's a collection of essays and excerpts of other writings that he's done over the years. A lot of it is to do with real events, so I would classify that as being non-fiction. When I was in university doing my masters, we were given an amazing book by Stephen King. I think it's just called Stephen King on Writing, and that was really, really useful for me as a writer. So yeah, probably those two, from what I can think of at the moment. I'm just trying to think, is there anything else like on my coffee table that is like immediate? Because the thing is, I have a lot of art books, where it's just like collections of illustrations and concept art from like games, video games, just artists' collections in general. Because I've got these beautiful big books, beautiful hardback books of photographs of derelict and desolate buildings and landscapes, like photographs of abandoned hospitals and Chernobyl and amusement parks and hotels and amazing things like that. And I have a lot of those books where it's like sources of inspiration for writing, and other stuff as well. So like I would say maybe my collection of art books of like photography and concept art and stuff like that. But I think Neil Gaiman's The View from the Cheap Seats is probably my favorite at the moment. Of course that could change if I read something new, but off the top of my head, that's what I'm thinking. Thank you so much for your question. Oh, Daniel V, favorite author, Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman, absolutely. I love the way he writes. I love his imagination. He writes everything with such care and with a delicate deliberateness that is both with a sense of fantastical quality but also grounded in realism. And I love his work so much. But yes, Neil Gaiman, hands down, favorite author. My favorite book of his is Good Omens, which he wrote with Terry Pratchett, who is sadly no longer with us. Terry Pratchett would definitely be up there in terms of my favorite authors in general, but Neil Gaiman is my currently favorite author. Other favorite authors I can't really think of at the moment, because I'm trying to think of like, because mangakas are coming to mind, but like Junji Ito, he is a writer and not necessarily an author. He's a mangaka, but I would say author Neil Gaiman, absolutely. Thank you so much for your question. Oh, Samuel. I don't know. I really don't know. Sorry, I'll say what Samuel asked. Samuel asked, what would your Resident Evil villain be like? The thing is, what immediately comes to mind is something that is very similar along the lines of Lady Dimitrescu. I will say, just before I finish answering that question, just because we are starting to get towards the end of tonight's stream, I would ask that we have no more questions in the chat. I'll just catch up with the ones that we currently have, and then we will draw our winner and then bring tonight to a close. But Samuel, what would your Resident Evil villain be like? I don't know. Because the thing is, the reason I am so hyped to play Resident Evil Village is because it looks like it is everything that I love for aesthetics in just beautiful, derelict European villages with religious iconography and vampiric influence, and just I'm going to be fangirling almost the entirety of the Village playthrough. I hope you guys know that and are prepared for it. Just me spending hours staring at everything in complete awe. So, personally, my villain would probably be along the lines of something similar to Lady Dimitrescu, in terms of like someone who's very poised and maybe with an aristocratic edge. Like, Resident Evil has a long history of amazing villains. Personally, I would prefer to not go in the more scientific leaning character, where you have characters or villains who are like the doctor who, you know, becomes obsessed with their work, like we saw last week. But I'm personally more of a fan of fantasy than sci-fi, so maybe something that's more leaning towards like those village sort of roots, like Resident Evil 4 sort of roots. Or maybe something like a villain who's like been in a forest, like a European style forest for a long time, and then they got infected with the virus, and so like the forest is a part of them or something like that, and so like the player character has to like burn down like everything around them to like finally kill me or something. I just like the idea of like that being kind of tied into that more fantastical elements, but also being like completely fucking horrifying. So maybe something like that. But then again, when I say like a villain who is like tied to the forest, all I'm thinking of is M. Night Shyamalan's The Happening, where the villains were the trees all along. How do you shoot a gun at pollen? In the new Resident Evil game, you fight pollen. So maybe something like that. Someone who's aristocratic and poised and with a sense of command and presence, but maybe like not necessarily like the main villain, like a supporting villain or something like that. Like one of the villains you have to beat in order to get to the main boss. But yeah, something like that. Just someone entwined with like flowers or a forest or something like that, like as a part of like the bioweapon virus that infected her. Something like that. Because, and of course, if this was me and if I had my way, oh fuck, I just knocked my straw over. I'm getting way too caught up in this answer. I would want like maybe roses would be like incorporated into that, but I don't know. But just something like that. That's just off the top of my head. I even haven't thought about it in detail. But yeah, something like that. Oh, thank you so much, Hayden. Like, I'm trying so hard to get there, and every time I get another role, an amazing voice role, I'm just like, yeah, it's another role, another step closer. And one day you will see me as a Resident Evil a Resident Evil villain. One day. But next question from Daniel V, favorite actor / actress. Favorite actors? There's a number of them. Mads Mikkelsen, I was kind of fangirling over a little bit tonight. Mads Mikkelsen, Tom Hiddleston, most of the Marvel cast. Chris Hemsworth, I like him. He's really funny. And I love Aussies. I love Australian actors and actresses. Like, I love Chris Hemsworth. I love Margot Robbie. Hugh Jackman, as well. Heath Ledger. Rest in peace. Actors. Just trying to think if there's any others off the top of my head. Richard Armitage as well. I really like him. He's got an amazing profile and a wonderful voice. He's I don't know who Richard Armitage is. Richard Armitage is the played Thorin Oakenshield in the Hobbit movies, and he's also the voice of Trevor Belmont. And he's great. I love him. The late great John Hurt, I love as well. Andrew Scott as well. Can't think of anyone else at the moment. Patrick Stewart, I love as well. He's great. Actresses, Eva Green, Anya Taylor-Joy, Cate Blanchett, Margot Robbie, Saoirse Ronan, Lupita Nyong'o, Maya Rudolph, Stephanie Beatriz, I think that's how you pronounce her name. But yes, we've come to the end of the giveaway. The timer has run out, so no more entries. But we'll be drawing the winner in just a minute after I finish answering the questions. There's a number of amazing actors and actresses out there, but those are the ones that were just immediately coming to mind. But thank you so very much for your question. Regen 101, have you read any of the works of David Gemmell? I'm not familiar with them. Apologies if they're really famous and I'm not familiar with them. I haven't really been as diligent with my reading recently as I should be, but unfortunately I have not. But but if you give me a little bit of detail about what kind of books they write, whether they're fiction or non-fiction, let me know. I might be interested. Next question from David WJ Bother. Question: if you go somewhere, no matter the cost, where would it be? The only constraint being that you have 4 weeks there. Japan. I would go to Japan. Japan, explore every region, including a lot of rural areas, and go to beautiful historical sites and onsens. Go to the cities and of course do shopping and all the amazing stuff that you can do in the cities, like all the cafes and restaurants and bars and clubs, and explore every nook and cranny of it. Yes, yes, Japan. Like, I would definitely say Japan. I would say also maybe if I have 4 weeks there, probably also America in general, and maybe go on like a really long road trip across the country and like kind of do like that from East Coast to West Coast or something like that, and then visit through Texas and see all my friends and stuff. But yeah, probably Japan and America if I had like 4 weeks in either one of those. Yeah, thank you so much for your question. Next question from Jen Newsom. Have you read Fritz Lieber, Langman series, Fraft and Grey, Mouser, Neil Gaiman did the introduction for the audiobooks? I have not. I should check them out. Like, let me know like what a little bit about the series. Or actually, you said the series. I'll have a look myself and see if they're of interest to me. But unfortunately, I have not read them just yet. But thank you so much for your question. Just checking if there's any other questions. Oh, Hayden, that's awesome that you got to meet him. Heath Ledger before he passed. Oh. Okay. Yes, last question. From Daniel V. Favorite comedian? There's a number of amazingly talented comedians out there and that I love very much. John Mulaney's so fucking quotable though. We don't have time to unpack all of that. Like, I love John Mulaney so much. I really hope he's doing okay. He's amazing and very talented and very funny. John Mulaney. I love Bo Burnham as well as a kind of, not necessarily a comedian. Like, he started out as a comedian, but now he's kind of like a weird performance artist sort of thing. But yeah, John Mulaney, Bo Burnham. Can't remember her name at the moment. Eliza Schlesinger, I love as well. She's very funny. She's done a couple of Netflix specials and she's great. There's another woman. I'm struggling to remember her name right now. Give me just a second. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna check my phone because it's driving me insane that I can't remember. Ali Wong, yes. Sorry, I couldn't remember her name off the top of my head. Ali Wong. I feel bad that I didn't remember it. But yes, Ali Wong is also amazing, and I love her. So yeah, John Mulaney, Bo Burnham, Eliza Schlesinger, and Ali Wong. They're the ones that are kind of off the immediate top of my head that I can remember. And I had to look up one of them. So I don't watch a lot of stand-up specials at the moment. But yes, they're the ones that are immediately coming to mind. Are there others? I'm just trying to remember. No, I'll stick with those four. For now that I can think of. But thank you so much for your question. All right. So that brings us to the end of questions for tonight. Thank you all so very much for joining me, and we shall pick a winner for tonight's giveaway. So everyone's got their votes in. We have a total of 6 entrants, so best of luck to you guys. And the winner of the Resident Evil Village Steam Key is the Metroid Man. Congratulations! Let's see. And I'll just find that and get that to you. Congratulations, my dude! He might have headed off for the evening, in which case that's okay. I will message him his prize. Let me just check. Okay, yes, cool. But congratulations, the Metroid Man, on winning tonight's raffle. And thank you so much to everyone who was an entrant. I hope you all had a wonderful time this evening. And this brings our Q&A to an end. And I now have a wrapping up page, but thank you so much for joining me tonight, guys. I had so much fun with this, and I hope you did as well. Thank you so much for helping me to reach this amazing milestone of 20,000 subscribers on YouTube. You have no idea how much it means to me, and we get closer and closer to reaching 1,000 followers on Twitch. And once we do, if we reach that before October, if we reach 1,000 Twitch followers on by October, I will do a live narration of the infamous fanfic My Immortals, so very excited for that. But thank you so much for joining me this evening, guys. I still have to have a little bit of a think about what to be playing on Sunday. I'm going to be spending the weekend thinking about what to do. What game to play on Sunday, but thank you so much for your patience regarding that. And don't forget, next Friday I will be starting my Resident Evil 7 and 8 back-to-back series. So next Friday, as you can see below, for my Friday night spice stream, we will be starting Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, and I hope you all can join me for that. And thank you all so very much for joining me this evening. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and remember, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and as always, stay wicked and wonderful. Good night, guys.